Howdy, welcome. How do I start this podcast again? God, I have. Welcome to the podcast of the living zombie. Late as usual, because everything's just been a
Yeah,
mess.
it
Yeah,
is
yeah. I mean, it's just how it is.
mid October at least right
Yeah.
now.
Oh, it's like 27th. Yeah, no, this is. I'll be lucky if I get. I'm gonna try to get this out by Halloween. The second one I gotta do. The second one I want to do with this definitely won't. And I'm putting off the third one I was going to do. Although, to be fair, that third one is going to be probably just be like an April Fool's episode at this point, just because it's not. I'll explain the deal with that when we get to it, but we'll do like an April thing on it because it's ridiculous. But we'll do this, and then I don't know, sometime later in the week we'll do Return to the Living Dead Part 3. But yeah, this
I think
time
this is like my third or second episode that I'm actually on here.
I think you've done a few of them at this point. But this one actually is a sequel to one you've watched, sort of. This is the closest to a direct sequel any of these
Yeah,
movies have been.
yeah, which I really would have like preferred way more continuity between the films.
Yeah,
And I feel like that's very easily done, especially when you're a big name like George R. Romero, but you're also like a very niche name like George R. Romero. So
yeah. But yeah, this time we're doing it's kind of a sad one. Um it's kind of a sad one. This is we're doing Survival of the Dead. This is George A. Romero's last film that he directs. Like sort of period. Um he
mhm.
yeah, he has like two acting credits after this. One of which is like a documentary about him. But and then he's like he has like a cameo in one of the Call of Duty zombies. Yeah, he passes away. This is a 2009 film. He eventually passes away in 2017. Evidently, he doesn't have another movie in him after this, or and I don't know that this did. No, this did. I mean, this didn't have a proper theatrical release either. So there's no way in shit it was getting like a box office return. Uh, it's a $4 million budget, which isn't bad. Um, but it's mostly making its money off of like direct to video stuff. Um, which is kind of sad. Honestly, I think yeah, I don't see why they couldn't have put this in the theater. Realistically, I mean, he's this does not seem particularly worse than a lot of the other films that he's put out. And I think like George A. Romero is just a cut above a lot of zombie directors, and I guess he just couldn't get that swung yet. There was a limited theatrical release.
Yeah, I kind of low key forgot the guy had passed away at this point. I guess I should have known that on the last episode, but
Yeah, and I couldn't remember if he had done like another film after this. He didn't. This is the last one. Yeah, and I think it's actually probably I think it's probably a step up from Diary, if only because it's not like a found footage film.
yeah,
But this one does kind of have the best direct continuity, because this one does take place in the same timeline, at least as Diary of the Dead. Because this movie stars, um, if you remember in Diary of the Dead, there's a bit where the protagonists of that get robbed by a bunch of like National Guards people. Yeah, these are them. This is about those guys that like robbed the protagonist from the last film. Yeah, that's kind of
yeah,
a yeah. I didn't see that coming as a way to do it. And this film wasn't Diary of the Dead's only 2007, I believe. So this is pretty quick afterwards. Yeah, yeah, 2006, 2007. So yeah, this is released 2 years after that. And yeah, it's pretty nice. I mean, it feels bad. I don't really feel good putting this in like a ranking of anything because I think a lot of the George A. I don't think there's a really a bad George A. Romero zombie movie, not by the standards of zombie movies anyway. It's just that I don't think he's. I feel like putting like if I said like Diaries at the bottom, I guess Diaries at the bottom, and maybe this is like second from the bottom. Yeah, I don't know. It's yeah, and still it's all. I think they're all good, so I'm not gonna. But I suppose it's not one of the greatest ones, but I do like it. It's always it is a bit sad that you're not gonna see another. There is a there does seem to be like a Twilight of the Dead, which is based on a script that George A. Romero was working on when he passed away. So there might be a Twilight of the Dead coming out eventually, which seems to be like a sequel to Land of the Dead. But that just started film. That seems to just if it indeed did start production, it started production last year, and that's getting worked on by the estate of George A. Romero. But yeah, so and that it's just honestly, it probably almost certainly won't be the same. Yeah, it's being worked on by his third wife. But yeah, and this is also we'll point out that this is entirely filmed in Canada. So that's something to point out.
Anyway,
Yeah.
that kind of checks out because I
Yeah.
was actually looking at the filmography, and there was one of the ladies in the film was Canadian, and then one of the main characters, Patrick O'Flynn, was played by a Canadian actor who has,
Oh yeah.
I think it was something along the lines of like 300
Oh yeah. Yeah, Kenneth
films
Welsh.
and like television appearances under
Yeah.
his belt, so he was pretty
Yeah.
prolific in the film
Yeah.
industry, or at least fairly. He was pretty old in this film, but I think he's
Yeah.
since passed. I think he passed in like
Yeah, he's
2007.
he passed Kenneth Welsh passed away in 2022 at the age of 80.
Okay.
Yeah, no, he did a bunch of like yeah, he's done a bunch of Shakespeare. Oh, he's got yeah, and also I'm looking at the stage credits as part of the issue with that.
He's in stuff. I can't
Yeah.
exactly
Oh
say
yeah,
like
he's in a lot of stuff.
some of the
So
stuff that.
not all of it seems like hideously I don't know if how many of this is stuff he's like a star as. He's got a few award nods for like lesser stuff, it looks like. He is he is really prominent in this though, which is important to say. I'm just looking at it because he played oh, and he played Truman once, like the president. Oh yeah, he played Watson in like a CTV adaptation of The Hound of Baskervilles. Yeah, lots of stuff he's in. Yeah, I'm just looking at everything, and I'm just trying to see if there's anything particularly significant. Oh, he was in Star Trek Discovery for 2 episodes.
Discovery is the most recent, is it not?
It's second
One of
most
the more
recent.
recent ones, or
They
is
got Strange New
Discovery?
Worlds, but
Yeah.
it's this is the one. He's in like season 3.
Okay. So
Yeah,
very recent.
yeah, yeah. He plays a guy named Senatal. I haven't seen Discovery yet. I don't know. We could ask Moira or something if we really wanted to. But yeah, and George A. Romero actually passed away in Canada, so I don't know. He was, I guess, he was living up here. But yeah, the movie is
Mhm.
filmed in Ontario, some stuff in Toronto, and a lot of stuff around Port Dover, which is yeah, it's just off. Yeah, it's a place that you've seen a lot of things. Yeah, yeah, well, part of old Ontario. They fought some 1812 stuff there. Anyway, um, But yeah, this one's an interesting one. They do a couple different things with it. I think one of the big explorative thing about this film, in my opinion, is that they explore that a line from Dawn of the Dead, actually, about like how like the zombies after a while just sort of start doing stuff, like start like going through the motions of play of stuff they did in life, going through going to places they went in life and that sort of thing. And this is kind of like taking that concept and putting it somewhere else other than a like a shopping mall, and like exploring that and like seeing to what extent like they'll do all that. Like a notable thing in this film is a character in this movie ends up chaining up a bunch of zombies who he's captured, and putting them up next to chores they knew how to do back when they were alive, and they start sort of doing them, not effectively, but they start doing them. But yeah, and they do explore this idea that like zombies can have this sort of like instinct on them that'll allow them to like attempt things they used to do in life. I don't know if I'd go as far as to say there's not really like an intelligent zombie in this movie though, which is the interesting thing. There's not really there's no one like Bud or I don't know what was the name of the zombie in Land of the Dead? Was it Big Daddy? I don't remember. But nothing like that where like the zombies are like showing leadership skills. And the other thing that's noted is he kind of got this idea after watching the film The Big Country, which is a William Wyler film, a Western movie. But I mean, that's a loose thing. It's like he's more. There's a bit most of that where that seems to come from. I didn't watch The Big Country for this. I probably could have. And maybe I'll probably try to catch it at some point. But it's a 1958 film, and it's mostly in the sense that like the old guys in the movie like fight a lot, and the old guys in this movie fight a lot. So yeah, that's mostly where that comes from. But yeah, and there is a big western feel to this film, and this yeah to the point where like a lot where like a full section of the extras talk like cowboys, and this movie is just a mess of accents too. There's like the regular American Guard guys who talk like National Guard guys. A couple of them are Hispanic, so they have a bit of Hispanic accents. Then there's like the residents of the main setting in this film on Plum Island, where they just talk in thick, and I mean thick Irish accents. Like that is for some reason like this. I don't know if this is a thing where like people in like rural Delaware will speak and just are just actually secretly Irish, but that's something interesting, quite weird. And then there's like the farmhands on Plum Island who just talk like cowboys. It's super weird. But yeah, you have any thoughts before we get into plot?
Uh, not currently. No,
Yeah, and you know what's
I had
weird?
something I was going to say, and then I
Yeah,
completely
yeah. Well, if you, I mean,
blanked on it.
pipe in if you think about it. But you know what's also really weird? I as listeners to the show will know, I have like a terrible habit of like forgetting guys' accents, forgetting guys' characters' names. And there is just a
Yeah,
character who I'll point out is a major character in this film. I cannot stress, like, this is a major character who is with them for the entire film. He is just called Boy. He is played by Devin Bostick. Yeah, no, he is just called Boy in this.
is there
I don't know. I
is
don't
there
know.
not another character also named Tomboy?
Well,
If
no,
I'm
that's
not
a nickname.
mistaken, and I'm pretty sure it's just a girl. But
Yeah,
okay,
yeah, that's a nickname though. Um, like that is particularly different. That is not just a guy who they are calling Boy because they don't want to learn his name. Like there's an actor. There is
yeah,
Athena Carcanus's character, Tomboy, that is a nickname because she's in the army and she's being a what's the character from Alien? Vasquez. She's this movie's Vasquez. She's sort of ripping her off. Played by Jeanette Volk. Yeah, Jeanette Goldstein's Vasquez from Aliens. She's just sort of a copy of that. And Tomboy is a lesbian in this. Possibly the last lesbian on Earth, which is just too bad for her. But yeah, that is really weird to me that I they must have fucking named this character, right? I'm not being crazy here. No, it just seems like they named the character boy.
There's like racial undertones of the word boy in
Yeah,
pretty much everywhere. It's a way of like talking down to somebody, especially fully grown men, calling them boy. And like, I get all the fucking nicknames at work. I've been called champ. I've been called the boss. I've been called bud. And it's like, Jesus fuck. Like,
yeah. They are being a dick to this kid too. And I say kid. I think this character is supposed to be like 15. I think that's the implication I'm supposed to be
the
getting
actor
from the
who plays
movie.
him does
Oh yeah,
not look 15 at all.
no, no.
The guy looks like he's in his early 20s or
This is a full grown like man who is I mean he's 33 now and he has a fairly old face, I think. Like he's not a fairly convincing teenager. So he's 33 now. 2009 is 14 years ago. So he is 19, but that is yeah, he's just I don't buy him as a teenager for a minute.
and I'm not saying that
Yeah.
like 22-year-old people aren't young, but
Oh,
I'm going on the
yeah.
legal definition of you're no longer a fucking child. Like
Yeah.
I also
Yeah.
grew up in like the Toby Maguire era of films,
Oh, that
so
was egregious too. Yes.
where yeah, 25-year-olds were playing like canonically 15-year-olds or
Oh, and this guy's returning to the series because he was in Land of the Dead. Yeah, he plays a character named Brian. Let me figure out if I can figure out who this. Uh, yeah, he's in it. I don't remember who he was in that movie. I wonder if he was like what a kid because that movie's Land of the Dead is 2005, so that means he's four. That would have been a movie where he actually was a teenager. He's also known for being Roderick in the Diary of a Wimpy Kid films.
yeah, I just remember like a couple of years ago that something came out about the one of the actors from Diary of a Wimpy Kid like murdered his mother.
God damn it! I cannot get a good
Just
picture of
really
this guy.
got me in the mood of the room.
I'm just seeing if I can get like a good picture of this.
No,
No,
he's not very. I don't know. I would say lead man worthy.
he is more convincing as a teenager in that movie. It looks like a bit. I don't know if they like do more makeup on him. Ah, God, he does look pretty old though in that. It might be because he's sort of a shorter guy. Yeah, I don't know if they're just putting more makeup on him or something, but yeah. Yeah, that's super weird. Anyway, the plot of the film. The film opens and we're getting some stuff that sort of mimics Dawn of the Dead. We're in a scene where we're in like a room somewhere and one of the guys and one of these and we're seeing a bunch of National Guard guys and there's a National Guard guy who's under a blanket and who is going to turn into a zombie. And it's basically just straight up ripping off that really iconic scene from Dawn of the Dead, where the guy rises from his under his like death cloak or whatever you call those. I don't know if there's a good word for the sheet they pull over you when you die, but I don't know. But yeah, they kind of just straight up rip off that section of film, and we just see that our main character, uh, Nick Sarge or Nicotine Crockett, is the guy's name, played by Alan Van Sprang, who's famous for being in The Tudors. But yeah, this is also one of his big films. But yeah, he sort of guns pretty really angrily guns down this man who's coming back from the dead. Quite annoyed about how this turned out, and he goes to yell at one of the guys who had like screwed up and caused this guy's death. And that guy also gets like bitten by a zombie, which is like conveniently placed off screen and bites him, so that Sarge has to kill that guy. And yeah, that if you think that sounds weirdly shot and like that doesn't make a lot of sense, then you're correct. Because this is a really weird intro to the movie. Really hard. Um but eventually we Sarge decides to go AWOL because it's a few days into the zombie apocalypse and it's not going well. So he takes a few friends with him who have survived, notably our Tomboy, which we talked about already. Then there's Kenny McDonald, played by Eric Wolf, and also Francisco, played by Stefano De Matteo. So yeah, and those four are sort of our main National Guard cast. They end up going AWOL, and eventually, pretty early into the soon, that we get our archival clip from Diary of the Dead, where they rob the guys from Diary of the Dead and take a bunch of their stuff.
How long? I'm assuming this is going to be a different answer for you, and I think everybody going forward. But like, how long into the zombie apocalypse do you just abandon your duty? Mostly because your duty is like minimum. Like as soon as they're like, yeah, zombie apocalypse is happening, I'm fucking piecing out. I'm not sticking around anywhere like to do a job. There is no amount of like camaraderie or like fucking like like no level of mostly because there's been a lot of and this is pretty fucking accurate to like real life. Um, if there's ever a virus, like when there's a copious amounts of people, the amount of preventative measures just go out the window. Like regardless if the army has good intentions of like keeping people safe or quarantined or like closed off, one infected person is going to completely and entirely fuck up that whole entire camp. So like the idea that we should all like be coming together in like a tribe or like a colonial aspect, like a colony, is like very bad in terms of zombie apocalypse, and we should all be trying to spread out as much as possible. Which is why I was like, when I was watching this movie, I really liked the idea of like Plum Island in general because I'm like, what is the easiest thing to defend against like zombies? And I'm going to assume it's going to be an island or something with like really high walls.
Yeah, it is a good shot. It is pointed out in the film that these guys have thoroughly. I don't think that's the day they abandon everything, but they are thoroughly AWOL by day 6 of the apocalypse. Diary of the Dead, I think, takes place over the course of like a week, if I'm remembering correctly.
It's like a very common trope in zombie movies that like the army ultimately ends up becoming the bad guy in it. A good example of this was 8 days later, Cillian Murphy. That got real dark really fast when
Yeah,
you actually sit down and watch the film because they find that the military.
debatably Return of the Living Dead too.
Yeah.
Same as deal. Yeah, and that is a question. I maybe it's because these guys are like National Guard, and I'm not sure. Uh, I think the National Guard's discipline is maybe a little bit less than like the Army's would have been. But if this was the Army, you wouldn't be going AWOL because that's like that is a good way to get shot. Like if they end up catching you, uh, if you do this and like you're
Yeah,
in the Army,
well,
like
I
you
think
do just get fucking court-martialed and put out back.
well, I
Yeah,
mean, like there is no court martialing. I'm assuming in
I mean,
this world anymore.
I mean,
Like leaving your post or like straight up desertion is probably just a death sentence because
yeah. Oh yeah, yeah. This is a
they're not gonna
field
like slap
court-martial.
your
Yeah,
wrist or whatever, but like they might just throw you to the wolves if they're like being generous at best. But
yeah. They could just firing squad you too. I think there's like an argument for that in this sort of situation. Because you don't always have the luxury of doing that, doing all this stuff in wartime too. So I'm not like I don't know the military like regulations of this sort of thing, but yeah, it could be quite a big problem.
I think it was Game of Thrones. I've been listening to the audiobook recently of Game of Thrones, which is really bad. It's got one voice actor doing the voices of like all the characters in Game
Oh
of Thrones, and there's a lot of characters in Game of Thrones,
yeah,
so it's like he's trying his fucking hardest to like make everybody sound like at least somewhat unique, but he's kind of just ultimately failing at it. But
yeah, I could see that being a
um,
stretch.
one of the quotes I think he likes is like uh, as soon as one person breaks rank in wartime, then all hell tends to break loose, and many forget their duties. I do believe it is something along the lines of that,
Yeah,
but
yeah, this is a thing where like
you're
you,
only as strong as your weakest link.
yeah, there's an argument to be made to like do the like the thing where like the Soviets would like shoot guys who retreat in the back as soon as they do it, because like there's a point, there's an extent to which
Mhm.
like making sure everyone keeps going in the same direction is the only important thing. It is more complicated than that, but that's not a meaningless tactic that you need to keep track of. But yeah, that is an interesting question of like, especially if you are in the army where that's a scenario where you might be facing. Like, at what point can you go AWOL? Like,
Well,
yeah,
like
it's or should you? Because that's a good bit of mental math you've got to be doing. And if
like
you're, yeah, if
like
you,
even if you're like in a hospital, when do you just like throw in the towel? Like if you're a doctor and you know there's like no point in trying to stick around or trying to save all these people because like the epidemic is just way too much, when you just go, yeah, I, I've got myself to think about at this point, and then just leave. There was a some characters in The Walking Dead, which was really interesting. They were depicted as these like gangsters, and then all of a sudden, eventually, you see that the reason why they're doing and stealing and like marauding is because they're actually trying to take care of an old folks home that was abandoned in the zombie apocalypse, which like puts something into like a very different perspective on humanity in general, because like there are people trying to do good in the zombie apocalypse still.
but yeah, after this little excerpt, we get our first glimpse of the events of things happening on Plum Island, probably in the first within the first few weeks of the apocalypse. We're introduced to our characters, Patrick O'Flynn and his and the band of people around here, the O'Flynn clan, because yeah, this, like I said, these are not just like in theory you'd think these guys would just be like Americans of Irish descent, but these guys are like playing this very Irish. Like these are just Irishmen. I wonder if it's like I wonder if like the smarter thing to do would might have been just to like have this like set off the UK or something. But yeah. Although maybe maybe they just have Irish people off the coast of Delaware or whatever. I don't know. But yeah, we're introduced to the O'Flynn family, which is a one of the two large families that exist on the island Plum. And the O'Flynn clan has been like stomping about the place, killing anyone who gets undead. And as a reminder, in the Of the Dead franchise, if you die, you do just become a zombie. That is how this works in that. And he's getting told off by his daughter Janet, played by Kathleen Monroe. And Patrick, she's giving him crap, saying he's like, "Oh, you've always been a very strict man." But what he's doing here is he is going to a house where two of the children have recently been in a bike riding accident, quite a nasty one. And the underpinning of this is that like one of the children died in the accident and was and then bit the other child, causing them to turn. So Patrick and his posse are coming over and telling the parents that like you need to put them down. There's nothing we can do. I'll do it for you if it's too tough for you. And he and the mother of the children takes offense to that, and she pulls a gun on Patrick, and she ends up getting shot in the ensuing before she can fire one off. And then the woman's husband has to kill her too, so he does that. And the men go upstairs to go see the children, who we see are chained up and zombified. He is struggling a great bit with this. Like he turns around to go ask if someone else could do it, but as this happens, the Monroe family shows up, or not the Monroe, the Muldoons show up. Chiefly among them is Seamus Muldoon, played by Richard Fitzpatrick, and the patron of the Muldoons, who we establish in this scene are the larger of the two families on the island. Yeah, the Muldoons are the real big shots. The Flynns are there, but they're not nearly as big. And Muldoon's there to make sure that O'Flynn that Patrick doesn't go through with this, and he threatens to shoot Patrick if he does this. And Patrick's just like, "What? You're gonna shoot the living to save the dead?" And he's just like, "Look, man, you don't know that that's how this works. These I don't know how this works. I mean, for all we know, someone can make a cure eventually, or perhaps like this is just like we're just buying our time until like God sorts this out. You don't know what's going on. Who are you? The children are chained up. We'll lock the door and we'll just leave them, and just eventually maybe something will happen. You don't know that killing is the right thing to do." And this is actually, I don't know, it's not O'Flynn's definitely erring on the side of safety, but this isn't like necessarily an unreasonable thing to say. Obviously, like this will eventually there's this is very dangerous thing to do. Like the undead have cannot be controlled, but yeah, you don't know that necessarily. Like it's also fairly early on. There may be some
Yeah,
civilization going on. Maybe this will get sorted out. You don't know.
which is
Yeah.
always really fucking weird to me because there's always this one character that has this hold up in this series where like uh a good example of this was Herschel from
Yeah.
The Walking Dead series, where he was gathering up dead people in his barn because he thought there would be a cure for them eventually. Like, which to me sounds like absolutely like insanity because I don't see it ever being like a cure. I could see there being like a vaccine made for like
Yeah.
because we're in really weird territories
Mm,
where people who die even from natural causes in these universes
yeah.
ultimately eventually become zombies. So like it's kind of weird to me that nobody's like checking the genomes or trying to figure out like
Yeah.
genetically what is happening in this scenario,
Mm,
um, to see if they can like at least turn it off and make it um,
yeah.
impossible for dead people to to reanimate essentially. I think another character in the series, The Walking Dead, was also trying to do this, if I remember correctly.
Yeah. There was the
People
CDC
trying to
really
like
early on.
the CDC, and then there was Milton in Woodbury in
Mm,
the governor's town in the
mm.
in like the third or fourth season.
And like, I mean, I will say there is an unknown here. Like if you're in universe, I don't know if you can be as certain that there's no cure and that there will never be a cure. Um, and I don't even think that like in his position, I can see like saying like, hey, maybe like this is crazy. This is probably like some magical thing. God will maybe come around and sort it out eventually, and we just sort of got to wait for him to do that. Like I'm not a
Yeah.
priest. I don't know what the answer to this is. Yeah, like yeah, this is genuinely something that uh you could like spend like hours of theology on and not necessarily have a correct answer, because a lot of theology is inevitably interpretation. But yeah, just absolutely a weird way to go about this.
Theology.
Yeah.
Um, I think the more reasonable interpretation that I've recently gotten that it was around the time of uh, what was known as the TikTok rapture that was supposed to
Oh
happen
yeah.
like 3 years or a couple of months ago. Somebody on TikTok was spreading around like the idea that the rapture was going to happen within like the next like 2 days or something, and then obviously the time has definitely passed and there was no rapture. But that was my thought. If you're going to make um, a zombie apocalypse based around the idea of the rapture, that would be kind of like where I would go with it. Is like the rapture happened and all the souls left the bodies of the living, and then all of a sudden the soulless were left on the earth, and the soulless would be your zombie horde in the series. And I guess the survivors would be something along the lines of you're not worthy enough or bad enough to be a zombie, but you're not like good enough to get into the rapture. Like I don't know. I couldn't tell you. There's probably something there in the Bible at least to try and justify like a
Oh,
Christian
you'd probably play
theology
with this. Yeah.
zombie apocalypse crap idea, but
Mm.
yeah, I couldn't tell you because like I'm not gonna say Cree because I don't think that's Cree. There's the spirit known as the Wendigo. I don't
Hmm.
remember which uh, North American
Uh,
Native American
yeah.
theology it was in. But like the Wendigo was a cannibal spirit that
Hmm.
basically like you were stripped of all morale and you needed to feed off the corpse of the living. And I think there was a movie that came out that did it fairly decently, and
Yeah.
yeah, that was
I think
a
it's
while back. But
I think it's out of somewhere out of BC is where it's from, but yeah, there's a whole thing there. Anyway, Muldoon event essentially takes uh O'Flynn at Patrick O'Flynn at gunpoint and is like debating what to do with him, whether or not to shoot him, because Patrick is sort of running rampant. And there's like some other stuff going on here. Patrick seems to have been like outside of this, like even if like you can make an argument that like Patrick's doing something responsible here. I think a lot of zombie movies are like very much in agreement with Patrick. But I think outside of this, it seems like based on what the characters are saying about him, like he's an asshole in general. Like he's a very strict man. Muldoon's like mulling over whether or not he should kill Patrick or what to do. And Patrick's daughter Janet comes by and uh, talks Muldoon down and says just like, look, just banish him, like give him a boat, send him to the mainland, which is in a lot of ways death sentence in theory, but it's not necessarily the worst thing. But yeah, which they end up doing, and a couple of O'Flynn's brother like buddies come with him, some of his cousins maybe. So about five of them go to the shoreline and end up making up a internet like meme, because the internet's still up in this continuity, which I'm not sure how that all works. I don't know. I don't know how much of internet is all satellite based, but I mean, this is a question for another time. But he puts up a video on the internet saying that he can send people to Plum Island. So what he does is he pays people, like has people pay them all their belongings at gunpoint, and he sends them on a boat over to Plum Island. So that's a scam he's running for a little while. We cut back to the National Guard crew, who end up getting the drop on this group of hunters who get into a gunfight with him, but because they're not, these guys are National Guard, they're a wee bit more competent than the random hunters, and they end up getting put down. At this point, they find the boy with them, the 20-year-old boy, which I guess, yeah, 19, but he does look way older in this. I don't know. He doesn't play a convincing teenager. Some people could be teenagers until they're like 30, 25, but this guy's not one of them. At least not with the makeup they have on this guy. It seems like they're able to do the Diary of the Wimpy Kid movies are like coming out about this time, like slightly later, and they have him looking a bit younger in those. So, but yeah, um, so the boy basically says, "Oh no, I'm not with them. You can take whatever you want. Just let me grab the stuff they took from me, because they sort of robbed me." So he guides them to a armored truck that the hunters had been driving around him. And that event, and I would have said this is what the boy's job was. I thought maybe he was the guy that ran the armored truck, but I don't know. But the boy says, "Hey, you can borrow the truck. Just take me with you." And they're like, "Oh, why should I take you with me?" And then he swallows a key to the cash box in the armor truck. So they have to keep him with him so that they can eventually get back into the key, into the armored truck, and get the money inside. And it's a whole thing where they're just like, "Oh, geez, money isn't really worth anything," but the money's sort of a big deal anyway. Everyone in the movie is just sort of convinced that the money will be a big deal at some point. It never is. The money's never relevant. Um, but yeah. Um, so they end up. So the boy ends up um, showing them the video from Patrick O'Flynn, who he's been calling Captain Adventure or something like that. Uh, so they end up going to the place where Patrick's been sending people off from, and Patrick's just like, "Oh yeah, give me everything you have, and I'll give you a boat." And they're like, "No." So they get into a bit of a gunfight standoff as zombies start flowing into the area surrounding them. Francisco ends up getting the idea that he can jump out of the armored truck, swim across the like the dock, and find their way to a yacht or a ferry that's sitting on the other side. So he tries to get over there, and while he's swimming over there, he realized that this dock is only actually like 5-6 feet deep, or yeah, maybe 7 feet deep tops. So that the zombies who we saw a little earlier were walking along the bottom of the dock, start grabbing at him, and he has to fight them off. He ends up biting off a zombie's finger, and he ends up getting there. And while he's getting over to the ferry, this has distracted everyone, and this allows Tomboy to also follow him over. So they both get onto the boat and start starting it up, and go to pick up the guys in their armored car. In the meantime, the gunfight between Sarge and the O'Flynns has continued. Eventually, Sarge throws a grenade at the little building that the O'Flynns are in, destroying the wall, almost cartoonishly so, because the wall gets destroyed, but they're still standing there. And basically, everyone but Patrick O'Flynn gets eaten by zombies. He has to dynamite a few of the zombies, and he has to also flee on the boat. As everyone gets onto the boat, and they start sailing over to Plum Island. They all come to an agreement. They start wandering around the boat. And at this point, I got to bring up the major flaw with this movie is they do a lot of scenes, and I mean a lot of scenes, where a guy will point a gun at somebody, and it's like, oh no, he's not actually pointing a gun at the guy. There's a zombie right behind him that the guy pointing the gun has just helped kill. And they do this like a bunch of times. It gets old the first time they do it. But yeah, it's very cartoony. And this part of the movie is especially bad for it. But yeah, they end up making their way across the pond. The O'Flynn and the guards, the National Guard guys, start coming to an agreement where Patrick has to show them around when they get to the island, and they end up getting to the island, and they find that the shoreline is just covered in corpses. Muldoon has just been killing people as soon as they get on shore, which yeah, that's the point at which Muldoon firmly becomes a villain in this movie. Yeah, and Patrick just thought, oh yeah, I'm gonna send all these people over to Plum Island, and that'll sure inconvenience that little Muldoon guy. He's gonna be so steamed, and he's actually really devastated that like apparently he's just been sending these people to their deaths, and he's like, oh dude, that's really fucked. I don't like this. So they end up wandering around the around the shoreline for a bit. They see a few of the chained up zombies I had mentioned earlier, where they were a bunch of the townsfolk who have died in the few months since the apocalypse started, and they've just started doing menial chores. You see people you see one of them playing with a mailbox. You see one swinging an axe. Uh, Eventually, you just see Janet O'Flynn riding across the screen on a horse, which she apparently has been riding since she has died, which has been since God knows when. Which she is driving like at a good gallop. Which yeah, that horse should definitely be dead. Like I think you could only possibly keep that up for a day or two. There's no way. And yeah, Patrick's pretty broken up by that.
I was gonna ask you, like, there's a in the Dave Bautista Living Dead series. I can't remember if that follows the same continuity as this, but
Yeah, yeah, not really.
no, there's not. There's a zombie tiger in it, so
Yeah.
in theory, zombie horses could
Yeah, but this is a regular
definitely be a
horse
thing
though,
in this.
is the thing. If we're not clear about that.
Yeah.
Um, but
Okay.
yeah, yeah, that's the thing here. It's a regular horse, which yeah, maybe a couple days tops you could do that. Which maybe she hasn't been dead that long, which is possible. But I don't think the movie implies that she's only been on that horse for a couple days, which is the only way that could work. Yeah, it's just you can't drive a horse at like that pace for that long. Maybe she's stopping occasionally, but I think even then, like you shouldn't be on top of a horse for that long. Like I think that alone is like another also a problem. Like you riding a horse for that long, like that's also just like it can't sit down with you on it like that.
Yeah.
Like there's just so many reasons this starts being a problem. And I don't know, there's some to that. I don't see we never see the Janet going on onto the horse without assistance. So yeah, there's no way to know how this is even working, but it seems fairly implausible. Our crew gets shot at for a little bit. They're the our guys managed to win the firefight, and O'Flynn says, "Okay, you guys meet me at the little coffee shop at the top of that hill there. I'm going to go get my family, and we're gonna do a little bit of a revolution on this island. So, yeah, we're gonna do a whole thing because now, and he's also just pissed about just like, oh, this is not only dangerous but disrespectful to the dead. On top of all the other things he's doing, which are just totalitarian. Yeah, there's not really an excuse for killing people the second they get on shore. So yeah, Patrick wanders off. They give him a gun, and everyone wanders into this little pocket shop. During the firefight, Sarge had taken a shot for Kenny to prove that like they were like close because Kenny and Sarge are fairly like close through this whole thing. Kenny is also killed in this firefight. Is the other thing, despite the fact that Sarge took a bullet for him. He only took a bullet for him, not all of them. This bullet wound on Sarge is also like a really, it's really poorly telegraphed by the costuming. You can't like
Yeah.
see like a wound on him at any point in the movie. And eventually, they all go to this restaurant dealio where they're just having some moments, and Sarge is just like, everyone's just like, oh yeah, I can, I'll treat your wounds for you, and Sarge is just like, no, no, I'm fine. He is not fine. He passes out soon afterwards. Um, in between that moment, while he's still fairly lucid, Tomboy and Francisco wander off to go look around. At this point, Francisco reveals he has been feeling very sick for the last several days since he bit that zombie's finger off, and he is slowly becoming infected. And he can feel it going, so he has Tomboy put him down. Immediately after Tomboy does this, she is captured by Muldoon, and she is captured by them. So yeah, back at the restaurant, Sarge falls unconscious. The boy goes to the river to go gather some water to go clean up the wound and like actually pack it, which they should have done like 20 minutes ago. At which point he meets Jane O'Flynn. That's right, guys. There is an identical twin to Janet O'Flynn. She may have even been in the earlier sections of the movie. And it's not entirely clear which one's which because Patrick O'Flynn is one of those guys who names twins with very similar names. So that even though it's already very difficult to tell them apart, we're going to make it even more difficult to tell them apart because the names are so similar. We're going to make sure that people get these two mixed up as often as possible. They even look the same because that's yeah. We literally see Jane first when she's being like shot with the sun to her back so that she looks like she has like a glow around her. Absolute
This was
silliness.
dumb.
Yeah, yeah. Played by the same actor, by the way. Yeah. There's no these two characters aren't played by actual twins. They're just played by Kathleen Monroe, who I'll make absolute sure that she doesn't have a sister or anything. Uh, doesn't say. Yeah, doesn't say if she has siblings. Oh, oh, here's a fun one. Kathleen identifies as queer, so maybe Tomboy would have had a chance because that was a joke they made earlier in the movie. But yeah, so maybe. So there was hope, I guess, or is, because you guys haven't seen the end of the movie yet. So Jane helps get Sarge back to health, which he does in about a half hour, and they all meet up with the O'Flynn crew by at sunset as instructed, and yeah, they're going to do this. James tries to talk Patrick out of it because this is they've just been trying to come up with a peaceful thing, but there's not really going to be a peaceful thing because Patrick's absolutely steamed, and those guys who wouldn't go with him to the shoreline initially, well, now they're singing a different tune. So O'Flynn gets with the army guys and goes to take on Seamus. Seamus meets them at a bridge going onto his property, and says, "Oh, drop your weapons, or I'll kill Tomboy, who I have captured." So they all have to put down their guns. Boy has been instructed to run and go get the money and everything. He doesn't. He'll go ahead and save the heroes a little later. But they're all gathered toward Muldoon's ranch because he just has a cattle ranch on this thing, which he's been using to store the living dead. Earlier in the film, we had been introduced to him and Chuck, who is like his farmhand, who is a guy with a southern accent and who has some misgivings about the things that Seamus is doing. But as Chuck puts it, he's the only one hiring. So he doesn't really have much of a choice but to do what he says. Other than if he wanted to do like an overthrow of the island. But I think the moment for that has passed. In like what the Muldoons have been doing in the meantime, and they've been trying to find out a way to get the and they've been calling them deadheads through the movie. The first time they've actually really given these things a name in the Of the Dead films, as far as I can remember. Which yeah, this is just like a comment about like giving them dumb names or whatever. Which George A. Romero was not above, as we remember from Diary of the Dead. But Muldoon has been trying to get the zombies to eat something else so that they might potentially be less dangerous toward the humans on the island. What she and his current idea is that he is going to put the zombie of Janet O'Flynn in a pen with her horse that she had been bonding with. They had captured her earlier in the movie to do this with, and they're just trying to make her stand around, like they're just waiting around and making sure that just seeing if something can happen. And Muldoon's just keeping everyone prisoner at this point so that he can just prove to Patrick he's right. Because this isn't really about whose philosophy or anything. This is just two Irishmen having an argument, and that's all this is. And at that point, I think we everyone can agree we're all doomed about just the two stubbornest Irishmen on this side of the Atlantic, just having just a big feud. Um, and eventually, he's like, oh, this will only end when like Patrick O'Flynn tells me I'm right. So they watch this for a couple hours. At which point, the boy sneaks some guns over to the captured all the captured soldiers and everything. And at this point, we're just having a standoff here. Chuck's just like, oh, well, I guess now somebody else is hiring, and he's going to go betray Muldoon. Muldoon shoots Chuck in the back for this. Chuck reacts to this by shooting the gate off the hinges of the barn. So that's a thing. In the meantime, Janet had I guess actually it's Jane. It's the other way around. Jane goes up to the zombie Janet and is just like trying to get like a rapport with her because she's just standing there staring at her. And Janet bites her, to everyone's horror. So yeah, now she's infected. There's been a gunfight has ensued. They call a truce. Muldoon and O'Flynn call a brief truce as a man as the zombies start attacking everywhere. Muldoon immediately shoots O'Flynn as soon as they declare this. O'Flynn then goes on and does a. He's been shown to have one of those hidden guns that pop out from the sleeve, like in Taxi Driver. They're kind of cool, where it just shoots out a Derringer, and he shoots Muldoon, killing him. At this point, there's a big gunfight. They're fighting the zombies. Janet, or no, I was right the first time. Janet witnesses Jane bite the horse at a certain point. Um, and she's just like, "Oh yeah, there's a point to this." She rushes to tell Crockett's truth. Is like, "Oh yeah, there's yeah, it bit her. That maybe Muldoon has a point." And then Patrick shoots her in the back of the head so that she won't turn. Because ultimately, I don't think it really matters that the zombies can eat the horse. Um, it's just I don't think that actually changes anything. Because the zombies don't need to eat anyway. Uh, but unfortunately, O'Flynn only has one. Doesn't have any bullets left. So he, as everyone else leaves the island, we get our final scene in the movie of O'Flynn and Muldoon wandering toward each other in the middle of the island, which is only inhabited by dead people now. And they point their guns at each other and fire them to click because neither of them have any bullets. And this is meant to be like a commentary on like how wars are just a bunch of stubborn stuff, and like and just talking about how like these wars and disagreements can't be resolved and how they'll never resolve. Um, and this was just his uh, George's way of portraying this idea that it's just some things there's just going to be a war that's just going to last forever. Which explains why they can't really stay on the island. The only way to overcome the conflict in the movie is to leave and like try to leave it behind. Ultimately, is how they're going through that. But yeah, that's where we're at, and that's the movie, Survival of the Dead. What are your thoughts?
I guess
Was that
overarching,
overarching?
overarching the yeah, the main theme of the movie, kind of stupid.
Yeah, I don't know. It's something. I mean, it's
Also, the people, like the whole entire plot makes absolutely no fucking sense to me because, like, why does $2 million in cash or
oh
whatever
yeah, no,
really
that's really
matter
dumb.
anymore?
This movie is too a bit too campy for its own good. There is an extent to which George A. Romero cannot
Yeah,
get out of the 1980s, which fair enough. But yeah, all like the acting never does like none of these not like even Land of the Dead, which is I think a maybe a hair better than this. I think it's only a hair better than this, but all that was a very 80s feeling movie too. Which I mean, good on him
yeah.
because he's the only one that got to make these 80s style movies up until the 2000s.
And I've been on like whenever. October kind of arises, I go on a pretty decent horror movie film uh, kick. Last year, I started a tradition where I would watch one of the like cult '90s or cult 80 movies that I've actually kind of low key missed. Um, Last year, I watched Nightmare on Elm Street, which I've never seen before. This year, I've kind of expanded where it's not just like on exactly Halloween when I'm doing uh, Halloween movies. I ended up watching the new The Long Walk
Oh yeah.
by Stephen King. He said it was written by Stephen King. I don't know
Hmm.
who did it, um, which just came out this year. I've also done the most recent Toxic Avenger, which was really good.
Yeah, I need to catch that
With Peter
pretty soon
Dinklage.
here.
Yeah, it was really good.
Yeah, because we've actually been trying to get a hold of that pretty over a few years. It's like, yeah, we were like, oh yeah, we're gonna do that movie, and it's like, oh no, it's not actually out. It's just completed and not been distributed. And that was like a few years of that being the
And I
case.
don't know. Yeah, and it got really weird because it was I think completed in like 2023 or
Yeah, it was a couple
2022.
years ago.
Hasn't came out for almost 3 years. But like it also they got rid of a lot of the if you remember going back to our review of the Toxic
Yeah.
Avenger 4 where they went to Japan, they got rid of a lot of the racisms, but
Oh,
there
that
was
was only
one
the
moment
second
in
one.
it at the end
But yeah.
that I liked, which was like a very big subtle nod to like the original like
Mhm.
racism in the whatchamacallit, where Peter Dinklage is like saying farewell to one of the other main characters who happens to be a black woman. He gives her a thumbs up, and she like it's like yeah, gives him a thumbs up back, and then he does the like one single fist in the air at her, and this black lady just looks at him and goes no, and shakes her head, which was great.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, it was a really good movie, and yeah, we should definitely do it for the podcast.
Yeah.
Uh, which is really funny because I don't realize how crazy and insane that casting list was because it had Peter Dinklage. It also had Kevin Bacon in it and Elijah Wood,
Hmm.
which I didn't realize. So
Yeah.
Elijah Wood's just going absolutely fucking weird with his
Yeah,
uh,
he just pops
casting.
out in something good occasionally.
And then on top of that, somebody picked up the 1973 Amityville horror, or no, The
Hmm.
Exorcism, which I've never seen. So I'm
Oh
gonna
yeah.
sit down and watch that at some point in time before
Yeah.
Halloween at least, or maybe during Halloween.
I watched I watched Lost Boys. Yeah, I got that in 4K. It's good. I like it. It yeah, there was like one or two moments I was like, ah, that's a little weird, but it was good. I liked it. I don't know, like I think I watched that the same weekend I watched this. But yeah, yeah. What do you give the movie, Cody?
I not high at all. Like there was
Yeah,
no conflict resolution. It feels like the George R. R. Romero just kind of wrote himself into a corner and was like, "Hey, this is
yeah,
actually supposed to be like a political commentary on war, where nobody ends up
yeah,
winning, and it's all just gonna come to a standstill, or there's gonna be more bloodshed, or like just just if you stop and think about it, like level of bullshit." Like, cool.
yeah,
I'm gonna go with like a solid 4 out of 10. I like the fact that it's continuity. I like the fact that there's like some pretty decent like tropes in this for zombie stuff nowadays. But like it's really hard. I don't want to say like niche right now, but like I feel like they're really just beating like like the undead horse here, trying to make zombies like still relevant. Like I don't know what you do in the genre to like really stand out as like a zombie movie anymore, but like we're kind of at the end of its life cycle here, I think, where
Yeah, we've
zombies are going to be interesting unless they really like spectacularly like make a like 180 to the genre.
yeah, yeah, you got to have a good cast in one of these. I'm at a 6 just because there are some stuff thing I like. I kind of like how they play with religion in this, where like he's kind of got like Muldoon has like a kooky view version of religion, but something about it seems like sort of plausible kooky, if that makes sense. Like this is sort of like this is a kooky, I believe, like a believable sort of kooky in the way that like some religious, like real life religious people can be fairly kooky. Like I found his explanation of why he was doing what he was doing sort of realistic, or sort of I followed it. But I think it is still one of the weaker of the 6 films or whatever that
Yeah,
he
and that's
did.
kind of like the downside
Um,
of it at this
yeah.
point in time. It's like, isn't Muldoon, if you're looking at like a purely motivational aspect of the character, like isn't Muldoon the good guy in the series portrayed as the bad guy? Like ultimately,
Ah,
his belief system is set in a very altruistic way, where like he is doing things for the betterment of like humanity at that point in time, and then Patrick his character is just like, hey, this is fucking stupid, but yet we're still cheering for Patrick's.
I don't know. I think Muldoon, like I think the thing that pushes Muldoon is definitely the stuff on the beach where he's like killing people as soon as they come onto the island. Like as Patrick O'Flynn says, he's killing the living to save the dead, which is the thing that makes him the villain of the film. Like for all his like saying, like he hasn't produced a way of keeping people alive. All these things are still fairly dangerous, and there's more dead people walking on the island. And I find it hard to believe that like Patrick's would have been significant. Patrick's rule of the island would have been significantly worse.
I think ultimately, I think The Walking Dead did it better with Herschel's character, and I think Herschel makes a very good point of it in the TV series. He says you might just see them as undead, but I see them as my neighbors that were once alive, or like the children that I was seen at church, or like that level of like thinking is a lot different than like we're gonna like barricade off and kill all the living, or kill all the zombies or people that are coming to the island. Is very different,
Yeah,
like very isolationist, very
no, but so yeah, that's the end of the George A. Romero films that we got to review. Now all that's left
yeah.
is the Return of the Living Dead films,
Yeah.
and then a bunch of the old zombie films. And if I get around to doing 3 of them a year again, we'll end up doing just some other formative things. I want to eventually do like Last Man on Earth, which is just sort of a formative film for this genre. Yeah. And then we'll just keep doing like occasionally like the random zombie films from the zombie series. I have a chart of like the next I think 4 I got to watch. Ultimately a lot of this is just to do like the sequels to Night of the Living Dead, both real and imagined, because
Yeah.
that's the premise of the show. But yeah, there's gonna be we'll do we'll do Return of the Living Dead Part 3 later this week, or we'll record it later this week or something. And then after that do we'll do that other film I wanted to do as like an April Fool's thing, because it's not a zombie
Hmm.
film. I'll explain myself when that day comes, but we'll explain it then
Sure.
because I got to go into the whole thing.
Okay.
But that might actually be worth an episode just if I do it like that. But anyway. But yeah, see you hopefully pretty soon. I'll have the next one done by first week in November here, hopefully. But yeah, see you guys next time. Goodbye. Happy Halloween.
Happy Halloween, I guess.